In this universe of more and less, all divisions into the more and the less occur simultaneously. But both unequal divisions are cumulative in their inequality. One always overtakes and overbalances the other, though both are progressing in opposite directions. Man's inhalation, for example, is simultaneously accompanied in a less degree by his exhalation, and conversely his exhalation is accompanied in a less degree by his inhalation. While he is inhaling in preponderance through his nostrils, he is exhaling in a lesser degree through every pore of his body. Conversely, while he is exhaling in preponderance through his nostrils, he is inhaling in a less degree through his body. The time will eventually come when the inhalation-exhalation sequences will become preponderant through his pores. He will then gradually lose vitality until disintegration has conquered his ability to integrate sufficiently to hold his body together as a unit. Degeneration will eventually conquer generation, until regeneration again has its turn. All ideal is repetitive, and no effective motion, once started, ever ends. The end of an octave is but the beginning of another octave. The end of a cycle is but the beginning of another cycle. The end of a wave is but the beginning of another wave. Also, the end of a life is but the beginning of another life. There is no death. Man cannot die, nor can motion end, nor can ideal evade repetitiveness, nor can sex evade its sequential preponderance. Attraction and repulsion are opposite sex effects. If the law which states that all opposite effects of motion are simultaneous in the expression of their sex opposition, but preponderant in sequence in each sex expression, is sound, then all mass which attracts also simultaneously repels. Also, one of these qualities is preponderant in proportion to the preponderance of one or the other states of motion, which determines the potential of the mass. Furthermore, if the law is true, any mass which is preponderant in its power to attract eventually becomes preponderant in its power to repel. If this is true, any mass which is increasing its power to attract must also be increasing its power to repel in excess of the increase of power to attract in order to attain its alternate right of preponderance. Conversely, for the same reason, any mass which is decreasing its power to attract must also be decreasing its power to repel in excess of the decrease of power to attract. The excess in each instant is in universal ratio. If this is true, there must be a point of equilibrium where the preponderance of gravitational power passes to preponderance of radiational power at both ends of the cycle of motion, at which points motion is impossible, except that which is continued by impetus. For in such an equilibrium there could be no force to cause motion. It has been contended that matter could not both attract and repel for the very reason that one would counteract the other and prevent motion. This would be true if the opposing states of motion were exactly balanced in every mass. This is true only at the two passing points above referred to, for at all other positions in the wave of energy, the opposing charges are unequally balanced. Sex is the result. The two passing points where the opposing forces are in equilibrium are the sexless position, 0 minus minus, and the double-tone bisexual 4 plus plus, which marks the limitations of motion in any wave of energy. The sexless position is chemically registered in the inert gases, herein known as the master tones, and the bisexual position is herein known as the carbon line. Through these two passing points, energy can continue only because of impetus. At these two passing points, all effects of motion are reversed. The orbit of expanding mass is ever drawing away from the apex of the cone of its system in opening spiral lines, following the contour of the cone toward its base. All mass of expanding orbit is ever decelerating its speed in revolution and accelerating its speed of rotation. Discharging light units are systems separate Discharging light units or systems separate or draw away from each other, and also draw away from charging light units or systems. They not only appear to repel each other, but also seem to be repellent within themselves. Each part of every discharging light unit or system appears to repel each other part, irrespective of its potential. It radiates away from adjoining masses. It expands from within itself, even as does the system of which it is a part. As light units separate one from another, they discharge each other. Discharging light units are those which are releasing potential through devitalizing exhalation. Light units or systems which are decreasing their potential are exothermal, expanding, radiating light units. Radiating light units or systems are centrifugal. Their force is in the direction of the expanding orbits of opening spirals. The purpose of magnetism is to replace that which electricity has displaced, to disassociate, disassemble, diffuse, disintegrate, and radiate that which electricity has associated, assembled, integrated, and generated. Centrifugal opening spirals distribute disintegrating mass over more expanded ecliptic areas and break up the nuclear gravitative centers by disturbing positive charge over proportionately greater areas which are in equilibrium with the greater areas of negative discharge, thus reducing potential by replacement of that which has been displaced. It has heretofore been written that all motion is spiral and all direction is curved. All direction is also universal. All mass follows spiral orbits either northerly toward or southerly away from gravitative centers of systems. All mass seeks the ever-changing pressure zones of its own ever-changing potentials, revolving and rotating away from west toward east, without any exception in any mass throughout the universe of dimension. Neither the effect of attraction nor the effect of repulsion is due to substance, but to centripetal and centrifugal force of motion. The effect of attraction belongs to positive electric charge, and this, in its turn, to electric domination. The effect of repulsion belongs to negative electric discharge, and this, in its turn, to magnetic domination. One need have no better illustration of this truth than the piece of iron which leaps to one pole of a magnet and apparently is repelled by the other pole. If the attributes of attraction and repulsion belong to substance instead of to motion, the iron of the magnet would either attract toward any of its parts or repel from them all. Much of the misunderstanding regarding the effects of the so-called magnet is due to a lack of knowledge of electric and magnetic action and the universality of direction. An electric stream is flowing swiftly toward the apex of every one of the countless opposing spirals within the magnetic bar. Each opposing spiral cone of energy changes its relations in a manner which will later be made clear. The pressure and velocity of the stream within each cone of the magnetized bar increase in inverse ratio to the square of the lessened distance and to the cube of the lessened volume, as the volume is compressed into closer quarters. The electric excitation of the magnetized bar increases the oscillation of little pumps, of which all matter in motion is composed.